guys. Today we'll be looking at finding your sensitivity. So the first thing that I want you to do is get the M4 and as much ammo as you can get. And the only attachment you should have on the M4 is the extended magazine. This will help you a lot with controlling your recoil, especially when you watch other attachments. So to find your perfect sensitivity, what you need to do is to go through each scope depending on whether you're a gyro player. I'm a gyro player, but I will use ADS. I will turn off gyro to show what it's like to adjust your ADS sensitivity, right? If you're a non-gyro player. And then I will go into finding a perfect sensitivity for gyro. So first, let's go to settings. What we need to do is I want to explain each of the different sensitivities. The camera free look sensitivity is how fast you swing the eyeball, so how fast the camera moves when you swing the eyeball. So if you should increase or decrease the camera sensitivity for free look, it will determine how fast the camera moves when you move the eyeball. Next sensitivity, the camera. So the camera sensitivity is basically how fast the camera moves when you are scoped in, right? Or in terms of no scope, how fast the cursor will move. So here I have third person no scope, and this is what 120 looks like. Let me turn off my gyro. Oh, wrong. Alright, so basically with 120, this is how fast my cursor will move. And as I increase now, to 300, my camera sensitivity, you can see that it has increased by a lot. Yeah, but basically to find a perfect sensitivity with the no scope, what you need to do is make a quick swipe to see if you have a 180 degree turn. So let's go back to 120. Alright, so by 180 degree turn, I mean I should be able to look from this target directly behind me or close using a quick swipe from left to right. So that I got used to, but basically you want it to look something like this. So basically like this. Yeah. Yeah. Or as close as possible. So what we're going to do next is we're going to run through the different sensitivity as it relates to the scopes. So let's go down to ADS sensitivity. Now this is for non-gyro players, right? So as I said before, the camera sensitivity is how fast the scope will move in terms of when you're scoped in, right? So let me demonstrate again using the red dot. So now my red dot is at 46%. So when I scope in, I move the camera. This is how fast it's going, right? And then when I turn it up now, let's turn it up to 300. So when I scope in, you can see that already it's all over the place. and you can't really hit anything with this. So you need to do is basically find a camera sensitivity that you're comfortable with by basically to find the perfect sensitivity as it relates to each scope. What you can do to practice is move from target to target here. So as long as you're hitting on the targets as close as possible, that will be your best sensitivity, right? So again, I use gyro to play, so it's been a while since I've played ADS, I should say. So this is how it should look, as close as possible to this. Alright, and you do that with each scope, increasing your sensitivity by 5 or decreasing it by 5. So if it's a case where you move from this target and then you notice that it stops midway here when you try to move it and it's not free as it should be, you want to increase it a little bit. But if you notice that if you move from this target and you want to go to this target, however it moves far, right, far away from target, you need to reduce it so to find that perfect sensitivity. Alright, so that's with the scope, and you do that for each scope, right? Alright, so the next thing you want to do now is your ADS sensitivity, right? So what I do is to stand here and shoot the target that is right here, the 100 meters target, right? So let me go to ADS. So ADS means aim down sight. This is how fast, this is controlling recoil by pulling down your thumb slowly on the screen. So all my sensitivity is for ADS is at 1% except for the no scope. This is because I play full gyro. Some people play with ADS and gyro, but when doing that, you'll have to adjust the ADS that it doesn't mess up your aim, because sometimes the ADS, when you're using gyro plus ADS, if you do not have the correct sensitivity to balance both, it can mess up your aim. So because I recently started learning gyro this season, I actually started learning gyro, so I set everything to 1% and play full gyro, and so far I'm loving it. The only thing is, sometimes I contemplate whether or not I should combine it with ADS, but for now I'll be just playing full gyro, right? So let's see. Alright, an example now. Let's start with the red dot. Well, I'll just use the red dot for spraying example, right? Because I use 2 scope, 3 scope on the red dot to spray. I use 4 scope and above for sniping, yeah. So now let's say put the red dot to 29, right? And you want to scope in and you want to spray this target. So as you can see, it's hard to pull down. There's a controlling recoil. You notice that the gun is going up a lot, right? So in this case, what you want to do, this means that the sensitivity is too low. So what you want to do is go to sensitivity and increase it, right? I would say increase it by 10. Right, try 10, or you can increase it by 5. So let's go by 10. That's 29 to 39. Alright, and do this again. Alright, see that the recoil control is much better than before, but still not perfect. So you want to increase this again by, let's say 10 again. 10. recoil is much better, but there's still room for improvement. So for me, what I would do is increase this by a little bit. So I would go by 5, so that's from 49 to 54 and spray again. Still not the best. I'll go a little bit and try again. Yeah, having a lot of horizontal recoil there. But what the aim is basically, you should spray and try to keep the scope on the target as much as possible. So as soon as you find that sensitivity where you're pulling down comfortably and you can spray a full 40 shots comfortably on the target, that would be your best sensitivity. As it relates to sniping now, ADS doesn't really affect sniping because you don't really have to, especially bolt action, because you don't pull down on the screen, you just aim, fire, right? But you want your sniper scopes to be as low as possible to allow you to shoot the targets as accurate as you can. So the different AWMs, that's for ADS, right? Now let's go to gyro sensitivity now. So putting back this to 1%, right? And then this is my current gyro sensitivity, right? And I play with gyro always on. So go back to settings and I play with always on gyro. I control with gyro now, we control recoil by slowly tilting down the screen, right? With gyro, start all your scopes at 300%, right? And if the scope is too quick for you, meaning if you're aiming, if you cannot do this from target to target, if the scope is too quick or too slow, then what you need to do is reduce it. If it's too quick, you reduce it by increments of 10. So you lower it by 10 every time until you find your sensitivity. But if you notice that it's too slow now, what you need to do is increase it by increments of 10 or 5, right? That's for each scope. So let me do a spray test with the M4 at the target. Right? Another thing to note that I didn't mention before is that with gyro, not with gyro, for both ADS and gyro, you can reduce your recoil by crouching, right? So right now I'm in the and you notice that the recoil was really basically non-existent, and also by pruning. Yeah. So in addition to controlling your recoil, you can control it by proning or crouching. This will help a lot, but the best thing to do is to find your perfect sensitivity while standing, and then when you prone or crouch, recoil control becomes really simple, right? Also relates to scopes. the larger scopes, right, is for sniping, right? 4x, 6x, 8 scope, right? So you want to ensure that the scope is actually quick enough. Alright, so that's it for sniping. So the key is for spraying with gyro, you need higher sensitivity, right? For spraying. And as it relates to sniping, you need a lower sensitivity, right? And the other takeaway is that we also need to ensure that we use the crouch and the prone buttons for advantage depending on the situation when spraying.